furiously wrong in the lowest part of the earth. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet be unperfect, and in thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. So the psalmist was writing that God in his mother's womb, the Lord covered him. The Lord knew his substance. The Lord had value placed on that fetus that was in the womb. So, all things that we debate about the fetus as to what is problem and what is valuable. Every single life is valuable. Amen? Let's look at Exodus 21, verse 20 to 22. It said, it may strive and hurt a woman with child, so that her fruit depart from her, and yet no mischief follow. He shall be surely punished according to the woman's husband's will, according to the woman's husband's will laid upon him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. And if any mischief follow, then thou shalt be life. Alright? So even from Exodus, according to the law of the life value was placed upon the unborn child. Amen? So there was value. In those two scriptures, it shows where God emphasized that God required the value of the unborn child. Some of the arguments that we have now in this world is that a woman has the right to determine whether or not she carries a pregnancy. It's her body, so she should decide whatever is right or whatever happens in that body. And the other one is that you can't allow defective fetus to come to life or to deny the child quality of life. And then it's about what is in the best interest of the mother as to see if I can take care of the child, I should not have the child. So all these arguments have been spoken about. But as I said, from in Psalms 139, it supports the perspective that God fashioned every life and formed that life from that life was in the womb of the mother. And the Lord has a plan for it. Amen? So even if we don't plan for that life, the Lord has a plan for that life. And it's critical that we understand that. Because when we're talking about our plan, is that we are taking over and say it's our plan above the plan of God. And it becomes a problem then. So when things work that way, because you know what? And when a lot of people don't understand that the same effect that they talk about having an unplanned pregnancy, aborting that child can bring psychological defect to the mother, can bring physical defect to the mother. I've known of instances where mothers have, when you are married, and an abortion because she was not ready yet. And she's going towards 50 now and she can't have any kind of thing. And she would like to have one. You see? And it bothers her. But even in that, there is hope in the Lord. Amen? Because, you see, even when pregnancy is not planned for, you know, how Moses grew up. Moses grew up as an adopted child. And he was excellent in that he led the people of Israel out of captivity. So even if it's that the mother said that they can't take care of the child, there is that option. Amen? And the church is supposed to be here for the mothers to come to and say, we have a problem, to help to bring forward solution. Amen? Because it is critical that we understand that every life is valuable to God. So the principle on which the church objects to abortion is not on the basis of saying that people don't have the right answer, but just to understand that the right thing, according to the Lord and according to the Bible, is that God has a plan for every life. We as the church should not, however, judge on the basis here if the birth of the child can cause the death of the mother. That's supposed to be decision between the doctor and the mother. God, that's a different thing because it's about blood. But if it's just about we don't have the money to take care of the child. I go to the father with support. It's very honest when I'm telling you what comes out of it. It cannot be that basis. Because every life is valuable to God. And God has a plan for every life. Amen? Amen. So we should understand that in everything that God has a plan for every life. Amen? You see, when we look at it, is that, as I said with Moses' law, if the unborn child died, there was a punishment. There was a punishment for it. So God recognized from the initial stage, God recognized that the life is important. You know that they say a fetus, the sperm pressure for the egg and stuff, and form the life. From 5 weeks old, they can detect the heartbeat. 5 weeks. So that means it's life. You know, they give time 3 months, 5 months. They suppose you can terminate because it's not a life, it's not an intelligent being and those things. But it has a heart. It's a life. Periods will take 5 months and survive. 6 months and survive. So how we are to determine that it's not a life? Periods will take at that time and come out and survive on its own. So we have to be mindful as people of God that God values life. And it is with that care we should help others who are so affected or constrained by that decision. Because it's not for us to judge and beat down on people, but it's just for us to communicate with everyone that God values each life. And that even if it's a money situation, there are options. Foster care, adoption, or even where the church comes in and help. suffering, but that still prevail. Amen? Amen. So, we cannot be like the world, to be so loose in how we think about things. Because we are constrained with selfish desires. And we have our goals. And sometimes we have our goals, and we say, we're young, and we say, the baby, so we terminate the pregnancy. After the baby born, and you know, when the baby was conceived, we say, we can't mash up the target or whatever. And you know that we don't know even the plan is that child ever really caused us to be much more successful than how we think we're going to go. We don't know the plan that the Lord has for each and every one of us. Amen? You see, in the case of a married person who have what you call unintentional pregnancy, because the Bible said we must abstain. You see, but people say that at the old thing, you can't tell young kids to abstain now. You have to tell them to have protective sex. But the Bible says abstain. Because we're not only thinking about pregnancy. We're thinking about many diseases. We're talking about emotionally sharing. For young children to go into certain sexual conduct that cause them to go down an emotional roller coaster, pull them into maturity or adulthood, that they promiscuous life and can be functional wives for the future or functional husband, because all they're thinking about is those things and going around and sharing themselves emotionally and physically with other persons. That can have a psychological effect and cause a lot of burden. But even so, there is hope in Jesus. Amen? Because there is no sin, there is nothing that has happened that is so far that the Lord can bring it back. Amen? So when these things happen, what we should do first is to ask, and that person first, is to ask God forgiveness over whatever. If it's fornication, cause the child to come, whatever, ask God for forgiveness. Amen? First of all, and we in the church supposed to embrace that person with love. Because if God is not giving that person, who are we to be judged? Amen? Amen. So it is important that we understand and must emphasize that this is just a single point that I'm going to close up quickly right now. That we must emphasize that every life is valuable to God. Amen? And the issue of unexpected pregnancy or unwanted pregnancy. Mary's pregnancy was unexpected. Mary never knew how it was, but she took on the responsibility. Amen? Elizabeth, in her old age, never knew it would have happened. Amen? But they took on, according to the will of God, to bring forth those children. Look at John the Baptist did for the gospel and for the saving. Amen? Of the people of the world. And look at Christ, our Master, Savior, and Redeemer. We don't know the plan that God has for each life. So if we know someone, if we see someone with that difficulty, embrace them with love and teach them the principle that each life is valuable to God. We don't know the purpose and the plan that God has placed upon that unborn life. So, in making decisions, as long as it's not something that's going to cause the death of the mother or those things, and that's why we must not judge in those extreme cases. There are some other extreme ones But in terms of that, if it's not that, then we should encourage them to bring forth that child because they don't know what the man plays, not the daughter plays. So, as we close this lesson, we're reminded that we must revere God, glorify God by valuing life. Value every life. Amen? And the life we're talking about now is the unborn life. Amen? As Christians, we should ensure that we try to stay faithful and cleave to God for Him to prevent us from reaching a situation where we will have unexpected pregnancies and those things. But if it should happen, God has a purpose for that life. Value life. Don't go for that. Amen? 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 Amen. Because God promises us life and promises us life more abundant. Amen? And life eternal. Amen. As I'm closing now, it's just a reminder that based on the new updates in St. Thomas, the COVID-19 is getting out of hand. It's getting out of hand. We must observe the protocol. Not because persons are going to come around and check. And if we don't observe it, they're going to close the church door and they might find whosoever is in charge. So we should stay the 6 feet and we must have our masks on. This thing is closer to us than we think. And that is as much as I can say. It's closer to us than we think. If persons cannot wear the mask, stay at home and watch the service online. But if we're in worship, we must observe the protocol. Now, one of the observations for St. Thomas is that the people are not wearing masks. And they're not observing social distancing. And it's spreading like wildfire. It's a fact. It's happening. We don't know how this thing will react to our bodies or with our bodies. They might think they don't have an underlying condition and the killer see you. And there are different strains of this virus. And we don't know how it will react. And as yesterday in prayer meeting, we were reminded that because of God at church, we can be careless of food. Because after Jesus fasted, he was tempted of the devil to do all kind of things. He could have done them because he's Christ. He could have jumped. He could have done anything with him. But he never did it because he was not tempted. So we should not be careless to allow this disease to go inside our body. I said because of our church, God don't need it. The church has been blamed for these two breakouts. It said Thomas and declaring that. So let us not be the ones to encourage any additional breakout. Observe our distancing. Wear our masks. Because the penalty of the disease in our body can be very severe. Amen? And as I said, don't let it be that we're going around asking for money to pay the $1 million fine for deacon's bed. That money could be used for a much better purpose. For persons unemployed at this time, lower work and those things, that can be used how much better things. So I encourage my brothers and sisters to observe. And ushers ensure that everything is observed. If we're too many, we can go outside. Amen? Put some chairs up there, you go to the mango tree and listen to the message. Amen? Because there's no distance in God. Could we all stand as we do? So as our message this morning speak about revering life. Honoring God by revering life. Revering God by valuing each life. And what I said in the last about valuing our own lives and our family life regarding the COVID-19. Amen? It's a way to honor God. Amen? So, as we're closing, I'll ask Deacon Spence to close this in prayer. Let's pray. So we will value our life, our physical and our spiritual life. A child saved, a soul saved, plus alive. Our Sunday school is over, and we are going on to service. Up with the gospel, down with the devil. On with the church. Hallelujah. Up with the gospel. Down with the devil. On with the church. Together now. Up with the gospel. Down with the devil. On with the church. Hallelujah. Boy, at the start, I never felt energy. We need to have the energy going into the service. Amen? Amen? I hope I don't be person with the COVID-19. But it's just to encourage us so you have very stronger.
It's very necessary. It's very necessary.